Hello, I'm Stu. Welcome back to the channel. Luckily this week, I've completed my in-service inspection and testing course. I say luckily, as the UK woke up on Monday to snow. Not Canadian or Siberian levels of snow, but just enough that roads were closed, schools were closed, and I wasn't sure if the course was going ahead or not. Thankfully, my wife was able to work from home, my little one had a snow day, and the course was able to go ahead. Here we are, made it to centre for day one of my what used to be called pat testing but is now in-service inspection and testing. Parked right outside the door. Lots of cars and vans trying to get in around me, but I'm in, so that's okay. Lots of bad weather in Sheffield over the last couple of days. Lots of snow, lots of ice, but made it here safe. Yeah, I'll try and take some pictures as I go inside, try and sneak a couple of pictures in, and I'll let you know how it goes at the end of the day. Today was a lot of theory, a review of what pat testing is, what it was in the last revision, and how it's changed in the newest 5th edition. We discussed the pitfalls of the race to the bottom approach of pricing and how cutting corners can leave things unsafe, quickly glancing at an item of equipment and saying, looks alright, isn't acceptable and can get you in trouble if someone later has an electric shock on something you signed off as being safe. We went through the chapters of the book, including the various legislation regarding testing, how it interacts with the Health and Safety at Work Act, the Electricity at Work regulations, and the provision and use of work equipment regulations. We did some basic electrical science, including Ohm's law and how 50 milliamps of fault current is enough to kill, and as little as 10 milliamps can give you a severe belt, but be fatal to someone with heart problems or even a small child. There are slides on how fault conditions happen, which are direct and indirect contact. Direct contact is when a person accidentally touches a part which is intended to be live normally, usually due to the failure of basic insulation. Think of a frayed wire or a broken plug perhaps. Whereas indirect contact is when a person touches exposed metalwork, not usually live, but has become live because of a fault. Perhaps a washing machine where the vibrations have caused a live wire inside to touch against the metal case. We did some theory behind IP ratings, fuse sizes, cable ratings, earth bonding, types of equipment, and what types of equipment are in scope and out of scope. For instance, car chargers are out of scope as they fall under a separate code of practice. Never knew that. More in scope now are things like hand dryers, wall heaters, shop lighting displays, things like that. All in, this was very useful theory and science. I have a feeling I'll be circling back to this more and more often in the future. This could get a little dry. Have some coffee. We talked about the law regarding in-service testing, and let's just come out and say it, no, it's not law to have your equipment pat tested. So why do it? Well, under the various legislations, it is law under the Health and Safety at Work Act that a duty of care is imposed, and under the Management of Health and Safety at Work regulations to carry out a risk assessment to ensure employees and users are not subjected to any danger, including when using electrical equipment. The Electricity at Work regulations, for instance, specify that electrical installations are maintained in a condition as to not cause danger and are suitable for use. Thus, it's implied that equipment is to be inspected and, where necessarily, maintained. Finally, under the provision and use of work equipment regulations, equipment should be suitable for the purpose and the environment of its use. That's a lot of words, and to be honest, it's a bit woolly. Basically, the various regulations come together to say that electrically, any equipment used should be safe and should be risk assessed as to how often it should be inspected. If an employer provides equipment but not training, let's say a nail gun, and the user hurts themselves because they haven't been trained, let's say they fire a nail into their hand, then the employer is liable. Similarly, if a faulty piece of equipment causes a user to get an electric shock, that equipment has never been inspected, again, the employer is liable. But not just employers. Hire shops should inspect equipment before every new rental. Landlords should have equipment provided as part of a lease inspected before every new tenant and periodically afterwards. Landlords of HMOs should have equipment provided inspected even more regularly than that. If someone does get an electric shock and the equipment was previously tested and found safe and can be proved by having records, then the employer could be less liable, as the fault can be proved to have happened after the last inspection but before the next recommended inspection. This shows that the employer, landlord, hire shop, whoever, demonstrated a duty of care. Accidents will always happen, but compliance with the law can at least be demonstrated with records to prove it. So, whilst in-service inspection and testing itself isn't law, the act of doing it ensures compliance with the law. Got it? This works both ways though. Users of equipment should stop using and report any faults they find, usually with a pinch of common sense. If a user plugs something in and it gives that zzz noise, then don't use it. Just don't use it. Wow, that was very wordy. Coffee time. I am in no way a legal expert. This was my takeaway from the course. Don't take what I said before as legally binding. Consult a legal professional if you need more advice. In the afternoon we had a practical workshop.
Phew!
With several examples of Class 1 and Class 2 equipment we had to test, record the values and complete the test forms. Lots of emphasis on documentation following the testing, getting the records right. We tested kettles, toasters, extension leads and hair curlers. And that concluded day 1. I brought home mock exams to practice ready for tomorrow, as well as guidance notes on the book sections which would be important. Right, so it's the end of day 2. I am just finished. I've just finished the exam. This morning was another practice exam, some more exam prep through the book again, some tips on where different regulations are, because you're allowed to take the book into the exam with you. Anywho, I passed. So I am super happy with that. I got 94%, so I think out of the 50 questions I must have got 1 wrong. So yeah, I'm really happy with that. That now means I can call myself certified in the in-service inspection and testing of electrical equipment, both portable and fixed equipment, anything that's plugged in or with a fuse spur. In addition to my other certifications, I can now hopefully put that and the gadgets I've been buying to good use. So yeah, good, pleased. Day 2 was all about the exam. We had a guided mock exam in the morning, some Q&A, and then after lunch, the exam itself. You're allowed 1 hour 40 minutes for the exam. It consists of 50 multiple choice questions. It's open book, so you can take your in-service inspection and testing book in with you. And the exam asks questions on the statutory and non-statutory requirements relevant to equipment maintenance. There are some questions on the units of measurement and science, and the majority of the questions were then focused on the classification of equipment and testing of said equipment. I took my time, I did the exam in just over an hour, and like I said in the van, I got 94%, so yeah, I'm happy. Getting this certification allows me to call myself competent in this space. I can go into businesses and rented accommodation and perform testing. Whilst technically anyone can perform PAT testing, this shows that I've been trained up to a standard and that I understand the theory as well as conducting testing to that standard. I can join PATA, the Trade Association for Testers, and I can even join NAPIT. NAPIT have a PAT testing scheme, membership of which again shows my competence and that testing is carried out to their ISO 9001 standards. Time to start building up a portfolio. Would I recommend this course? Yes. If you're wanting to get into testing, or your business is required to test appliances, or you want to offer landlord appliance testing, then yes. Having the official qualification, as well as an understanding of basic electrical science, shows your customers that you're competent, certified, and it helps keep them safe. If you've made it this far to the end, again, thank you. I really do appreciate every view. This was the first of the newer certifications I'm going for. The next video will be after my first week starting my City and Guilds 2365 level 2. And I promise that one won't be as dry in parts. I'm going on a journey to update my certifications towards becoming a full scope electrician. If that interests you and you want to follow along, please consider liking and subscribing. I'm doing this off my own back and sharing my experiences just because I want to. Hopefully it will entertain, maybe even inspire someone. Thanks for watching. You'll see me next time. Milliamps of fault current is enough to kill, and as little as 10 milliamps, little tiny ants, little tiny teeny tiny ants, milliamps. Doodle-doo, email, no one cares. With several examples of class 1 and class 2 eclapment. Hopefully it will entertain, inspire, or go off script and you completely f that up.